London, birthplace of the London Eye, of Big Ben, and the origin of bits of concrete that hang out of the pavement, causing unnecessary trip hazards. It's a wonderful place. I encourage you to come. There's just one thing the City of London has failed to mention. With all the construction sites hanging around and the cranes that emanate from the ground looking like unsightly bits of unshaven chin, I'm not entirely sure we've finished building the city yet. Perhaps I'm being a little bit too judgmental. Perhaps these guys are building the city of the future, the city we always dreamed of in the 80s, filled with hover cars and age ships that kill you when you reach your prime. Perhaps they're building just tiny little set pieces, so in the next series, The Apprentice, the sky shots actually have something to look at. Or perhaps all these guys are playing a real-time game of Blueprints, a game I can't realistically review here. Blueprints is a game that allows you and your friends to rewrite the wrongs caused by that last game of Rampage that you played, allowing you to rebuild civilization with schools, apartment complexes and the odd Starbucks here and there. You're not the old average architects, however, more avant-garde pioneers of a new city, because you won't be building it with traditional means, rather you'll be building it with dice made of stone, wood, glass and recycled materials, so paper mache, in a bid to create creative, materialistic pieces of greatness. The thing is, throughout the game's 3 rounds, the public's opinion of greatness can vary incredibly wildly, and all of you picky architects only have a limited pool of resources to choose from. When the game begins, you're given a blueprint to adhere to, which gives you an overall objective for your final building to look like at the end of the round. There's only one particular rule that comes with these: you can't build on the hatched areas here, otherwise you get a nice bird's eye view telling you how many dice needs to be on what location, and a pretty little diagram that shows you what your building should look like at the end of the round. We'll just put that there away from everyone else. Take a look at the nice pool of resources everyone can choose from, and I'll make a decision to get one of these recycled dice. I build my entire skyscraper out of old bits of baked bean tins. It won't look like much, but it'll do the world some good at the end of the day, and it'll give me a nice point bonus right at the end. Take a resource from the bag at random, roll it for somebody else. Oh, it's a 4 wood, I don't need that, but you know, green could take that if they wanted. All the green, but it makes sense, green for green. I have no qualms to a design decision, that's absolutely fine. Another wood, brilliant, thanks. Well, yellow, do you want to dwindle the wood down for us? Okay, it seems everyone's a member of Greenpeace in this game, and that's just absolutely brilliant. And another, for God's sake. Right. Okay, well, if I want a little quick point boost, what I'll do is I'll take this glass one and I'll create a sort of lobby that people can look through so they could observe my brilliant humanitarianism by, you know, building an entirely recycled building. That's absolutely fine, I guess. Oh, come on. I don't need wood, I need baked bean tins! Now, I'm not being stressful in that instance because I'm a picky little bogan when it comes to choosing materials that can project my creative genius onto the land. No, I'm being picky for points. Because you see, the materials you use and the way you use them in that build directly affect your score at the end of the round and can affect the awards you get that can end up winning the game. If you look at my secretive little sheet here, you can see I actually have some sound reasoning for what I did. With a green dice, you score an amount of points range from how many you use. So you can get a measly 2 for just 1 to a massive 30 for 6. Problem is with this, it can easily be sabotaged by people cottoning on to what you're trying to do, as you saw in that video there. But nevertheless, I decided to go for a quick fix points with the glass dice. And with the glass dice, you score the amount of points on the die when you build it. So I got a nice little 6er there, but it doesn't really affect anything with the structure. If you're clever with the stone dice, those score ranging on where you build them in the project. So you got a measly 2 points for a first floor build, right up to 8 and above for 4 and above. Problem is, there's no blueprint that actually has a 4-level structure, but we'll get to that a little bit later and why that's the case. And finally, the useless wood die. You score 2 points for every adjacent die onto it. Unfortunately, they were completely useless there. In fact, there's likely to be one completely useless material per round, and this creates a problem because that limited pool of resources, even though it keeps respawning and refreshing, it means they dwindle very quickly as to what you actually need. So you end up creating that weird tin, glass, stone mess that I created at the end of the game. But it's actually quite reassuring when everyone else reveals their buildings and reveal complete abominations that even grand designs couldn't justify the creation of.
Benjamin has built a little bronze salute to a middle finger, made entirely out of stone, glass, and recycled materials. The entrance is made of discarded pieces of tin, and the glass foyer allows visitors to see the mistake they've made by entering the building. The focal point of the building, the glass elevator, is held up by a strong slab of stone. If we look inside the building,
it soon becomes apparent that Blueprints isn't a game about creative openness, rather one about constant restrictions, especially when players get to grips with the one structural law of dice building. Say a player wants to start off this 3-level tier on his building and picks up a glass 6 and place it just there, an easy 6 points for them to claim. The problem is, in order to put a dice on top of another one, that dice has to be of equal or higher value than the one below it, which means that there needs to be 2 6s on top of this in order for it to be complete. And this is where problems occur, because if the dice don't roll your way, or everyone else is a bastard and picks those dice instead of you, and they don't know that they're bastards at this point, that means if you claim another dice and can't place it anywhere, you lose that dice forever, and that's it. You've gone and lost a bonus you could have had at the end of the game, and that could have screwed you over for big rewards towards the end of it. But there's always a plan B. Once building is done, we tally up the points from said buildings. Players score 6 points if they follow the blueprint exactly, and then we tally up all the points from the materials used appropriately. If there's a tie, these two resources here, the contested resources, determine who wins. So the person who used the most stone would win a tie, and then if each person used the same amount of stone, then the player who used the most recycled materials would win a tie. First off, determining on how much you scored in the building, you get these ranking cards: gold, silver, and bronze. And it's the player who has the most points on these cards at the end of the game that'll win the entire game after 3 rounds. But if we just scroll down a little bit further, we've got these interesting awards cards. We've got this one, which means if somebody used 5 of the same type of material, they'll score 2 points. If someone used 4 of the same number dice, they'll score 2 points. If somebody used all numbers of a dice in their building, they'll score 2 points. And then this one, if people build a building of 5, they can score 2 points, potentially ditching the blueprint altogether and these ranking awards up here in order to get a quick fix of 2 points for the end of the game.
Now, the optimistic may see these awards as bonus points that can be easily hooved up at the end of the game, but really, they should see them as fail-safe should anything go wrong in the building process. Because if you're too naive and enter this thinking you can score every award under the sun, you'll actually end up locking yourself out of most of them. Say I want to build a building with 4 dice of the same number, and I pick 2 4s in the opening rounds to form a nice little base, but because the odds are never entirely in your favour when you roll dice, no other 4s come up. Well, I can't go for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bonus, because obviously I've got 2 of the same number dice, and for some weird reason everyone's become categorically obsessed with each type of material, meaning they've gone and knocked me out of the 5 of the same kind of material bonus. So I think, screw it, my building's not going to score very high anyway, I might as well go for the skyscraper, and there we go, I reveal a nice little wood recycled glass skyscraper, and then yellow reveals a skyscraper. So it's a tie because only one of the skyscraper awards can be dished out every round. So we take it to the contested materials as discussed earlier, and the contested material was stone, which means they get the skyscraper award because they used more stone dice. And the really annoying thing is if I didn't bottle it, then the 6 points I would have earned by completing my building would have actually given me the highest scoring building. But as such, yellow has the highest scoring building, and that gives them the gold award for that round, and I'm left with absolutely nothing. With the constant rejigging of objectives, as well as the ongoing depletion of materials that you can all choose from, it means you're never going to quite get the building that you wanted, and there's this line of damage limitations that's slowly going to make it, or very quickly going to make its way to you, and when it hits, you're going to have to adapt very, very fast. It's weird, because with 2 players, you don't really feel this pressure, because you can't really define a tactic, especially as you have to discard the die after picking one in order to keep the dice pool rolling, and it's actually quite a calming influence. Add a 3rd player, however, and it suddenly becomes a lot more panic-induced as you try and act Rain Man, trying to see exactly what they're trying to do and whether or not what they're trying to build goes against what you're trying to build, and whether or not you should just kick it all in and just go for the 2 victory point skyscraper. And all matches sort of become wince-offs like this. Add a 4th player to this, and it means that players only have 7 dice to pick from, instead of 9 dice that you do in the 3-player alternative, which means that the narrow shifty eyes multiply by about 4 times over, and there's a whole lot more of this. Why are there 4 of me now? And altogether it can make a surprisingly tense game.
Blueprint certainly isn't trying to redefine the rules or break any boundaries when it comes to board gaming, but it's certainly one of the most fun filler games I've played in quite some time. It takes the elements of gambling and pushing your luck that are so familiar in tiny morsels of fun such as zombie dice, and just gives them a slight element of personalisation to everyone who comes across it. If you're looking for a new filler game to bridge the gap in board game evenings whilst you wait for your pizza with a slight tinge of strategy tacked onto it, I would certainly recommend Blueprints. No attempt at a witty sign-off this time around. I'm just going to go and build a fort with dice now. See ya!